Dr. Jessica Anderson stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of the United Earth Defense Command, her reflection overlaid against Earth's curvature below. 20 years of military strategic planning, and somehow, none of their first contact scenarios had accounted for an alien species being this arrogant. The Crixian ambassador, Supreme Delegate Zexthor, continued his monologue. His iridescent scales rippled with what she recognized as pride. Apparently, some expressions were universal. The holographic translator floating between them rendered his clicks and hisses into English. And so, in the magnanimity of the Crixian Empire, we offer you the opportunity to submit willingly. Your species will be granted Class 3 servitor status, permitted to maintain limited cultural practices under imperial supervision. The alternative, he paused, mandibles spreading in what might have been a smile, is extinction. Jessica glanced at General Martinez and Admiral Chen, who flanked her on either side. The corner of Martinez's mouth twitched. He was trying not to laugh. Chen's expression remained neutral, but Jessica knew that look. It was the same one the Admiral wore during war games when a junior officer had just made a catastrophic tactical error. "Supreme Delegate," Jessica said, stepping forward. Her heels clicked against the polished floor. "Before you continue, I believe there's something you should see." She raised her hand, interfacing with the room's holographic systems through her neural implant. The lights dimmed. "What is this interruption?" Zexthor's translator rendered his irritation perfectly. "The terms of submission are non-negotiable." The air between them filled with floating screens, each displaying different footage. Navy SEALs conducting Hell Week in storm-swept seas, Rangers making high-altitude combat jumps, Marines engaged in urban warfare training, Special Forces conducting night operations, each video carefully selected from Jessica's classified archives. "You speak of war," she said, walking through the holograms. "But I don't think that word means what you think it means. Humanity doesn't just practice war. Supreme Delegate, we've mastered it, perfected it. Some might say we've turned it into an art form." She gestured, and new footage appeared. Historical battles, modern conflicts, advanced weapons testing. For thousands of years, we've fought each other, learned from each other. Every defeat taught us resilience. Every victory taught us humility. Every battle made us stronger. Zexthor's scales had lost their luster, his posture stiffening as he watched humans fighting in every conceivable environment. Desert, jungle, Arctic, urban. These are dramatizations. Reality. General Martinez spoke up, his voice carrying the weight of his 30 years of service. And this is just what we show in public. The classified footage would give your imperial tacticians nightmares. Jessica pulled up one final hologram, footage from last month's quantum displacement weapon test. A target vessel, larger than any Crixian ship in orbit, vanishing in a flash of blue light, the space-time around it twisting like paper in a flame. "You came here offering us a choice between submission and extinction," Jessica said, walking until she stood directly before the alien ambassador. "But you've made a crucial error in judgment. You assumed you were the one with the power to make threats." She smiled, and for the first time, Zexthor took a step back. "We've been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Every military advance, every technological breakthrough, every strategic innovation, all of it leading to this moment." The lights came back up. Jessica's voice remained calm, professional, but carried an edge that made the translator crackle. "So, Supreme Delegate, let me offer you a counter-proposal. Return to your empire. Show them what you've seen here, and then make your choice. Because you haven't started a war. You've merely requested a demonstration of what true combat looks like." Zexthor's mandibles clicked rapidly. The translator rendered it as nervous chittering. Without another word, he turned and strode toward his shuttle, his previous swagger notably absent. As the alien craft departed, Admiral Chen finally allowed herself a small smile. "Think they'll take the hint?" Jessica watched the shuttle ascending through the atmosphere, her expression thoughtful. No, they're too proud, too sure of their superiority. She turned to her colleagues, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. And that means we get to teach them why humanity has survived everything the universe has thrown at us so far. All defense stations, she broadcast to the global command network. Initialize protocol Thermopylae. Let's show them what happens when you pick a fight with the wrong species. Colonel Mike, Mad Dog, Reynolds watched the Crixian fleet through the quantum imaging array, their ships positioning themselves in a classic invasion formation near Jupiter's orbit. His scared fingers drummed against the holographic display as tactical data streamed across his field of view, courtesy of his neural augments. Sir, Lieutenant Sarah Cooper's voice came through his comm. The Crixians are broadcasting on all frequencies. They're laughing at us. Are they now? Mike's weathered face broke into a predatory grin. Put it through. The alien transmission filled the command center, their translator making their smugness clear. Primitive species. No orbital defenses, no space fleet worthy of the name. The Supreme Delegate's fears were clearly unfounded. Mike cut the transmission with a gesture. Time to educate them about humanity's first rule of warfare. Always assume your enemy has an ace up their sleeve. He opened a secure channel to Earth Defense Command. Dr. Anderson, requesting authorization to initiate Operation Bermuda. Granted, Colonel. Show them why we kept that sector of the Atlantic off-limits for the past 30 years. Mike's fingers flew across the holographic controls. Cooper, signal the Quantum Boys. Let's introduce our friends to some real space warfare. Throughout the solar system, seemingly dormant satellites began powering up. For decades, humanity had hidden their true military capabilities behind a facade of civilian space programs and satellite launches. Each weather satellite and communications relay was, in reality, part of an intricate weapons network. Sir, receiving final confirmation. The quantum displacement field is ready. Mike leaned forward, his artificial eyes zooming in on the Crixian fleet. You know, back in my SEAL days, we had a saying. The only easy day was yesterday. Let's make this the hardest day these aliens have ever had. He pressed his palm against the command interface. Execute. The space around Jupiter's orbit suddenly lit up with thousands of quantum displacement mines, each one previously invisible thanks to technology reverse-engineered from recovered alien craft. The Crixian fleet found themselves in the middle of the largest minefield ever created by human hands. They're attempting evasive maneuvers, Cooper reported, excitement creeping into her professional tone. But they're only driving themselves deeper into the field. Mike watched as the first quantum mine detonated. The explosion didn't destroy the Crixian ship, it did something far worse. Space itself twisted around the vessel, folding like origami gone wrong. When the distortion cleared, half of the ship was simply elsewhere. By all means, he muttered, watching the aliens' formations break down into chaos. Keep laughing. The Crixian command channels erupted with panic. Their sensors, designed to detect conventional weapons, had been blind to the quantum technology. Humanity had taken their greatest weakness, their relatively primitive space presence, and turned it into their greatest strength. No one had expected them to have such advanced weapons because they'd hidden them in plain sight. Colonel, Cooper called out, we're detecting energy builds in their remaining capital ships. They appear to be charging their main weapons. Mike's grin widened. Right on schedule. Signal the Triton bases. Time for Phase 2. Beneath the ice of Neptune's largest moon, human crews powered up weapons that no one outside of Earth's highest military command knew existed. The Crixians had assumed humanity's exploration of the outer solar system was scientific in nature. They were about to learn otherwise. Message from Dr. Anderson. Sir, Cooper announced. Remember, Colonel, we want to bloody their nose, not start an extinction-level event. Mike nodded, watching as more quantum mines detonated, creating a beautiful and terrifying display of space-time distortions. Understood. We're just teaching them lesson 1. Never judge an enemy by their apparent technological level. He opened a channel to all human forces in the system. This is Colonel Reynolds. Execute containment protocols. Let's show these aliens why Earth's oceans and space aren't the only things they should be afraid of. As the Crixian fleet struggled to regroup, Mike reflected on how long humanity had prepared for this moment. The Bermuda Triangle hadn't swallowed ships and planes by accident. It had been humanity's testing ground for quantum weapons, hidden behind a veil of mystery and urban legends. "Sir," Cooper's voice carried a note of satisfaction. "The Crixians are requesting emergency communications with Earth Command." Now that's more like it. Mike straightened his uniform, patched them through. Let's hear what they have to say after their first real lesson in human warfare. Major Emma Hayes watched the thermal imaging display with satisfaction as Crixian dropships descended toward the massive military installations in the Sahara. The aliens' energy signatures blazed across her screens like falling stars. Their attack formation perfect, too perfect. They had no idea they were falling for humanity's greatest deception. "Status of the Antarctic defense grid?" she asked, her breath misting in the frigid air of the underground command center. Captain Rodriguez's fingers danced across his control panel. "Maintaining stealth protocols, ma'am. The geothermal masking is holding steady. Those lizards still think we're just a frozen wasteland." Emma allowed herself a small smile. The Crixians had spent 3 days bombarding the bases in the Sahara from orbit, their scans revealing exactly what humanity wanted them to see: massive military complexes, weapon stockpiles, and defense installations, all of it elaborate holograms, powered by technology perfected through decades of hiding much bigger secrets. Message from the Sahara Observation Post. Lieutenant Chen announced. "The enemy landing party is deploying ground forces. They're moving to engage the defensive units." "Show me," Emma commanded. The main display lit up with live footage. Crixian shock troops, their armor gleaming under the desert sun, advanced on what they thought were Earth's primary military installations. Their weapons were primed to engage the robotic defenders they detected. Instead, they found empty desert. "Observation drones are picking up significant confusion in enemy ranks," Chen reported, unable to keep the amusement from his voice. "They're conducting multiple sensor sweeps." Emma opened a channel to the other real command centers hidden across Earth. "All stations, this is Crystal Base. The package has been delivered. Initiate Operation Mirage. Time to show them why you don't trust everything you see." Across the planet's oceans, humanity's true military might stirred to life. Massive hangar doors opened beneath the waves, releasing swarms of aquatic combat vehicles. Designs tested and perfected in the Mariana Trench's secret facilities. While the Crixians had focused their attention on obvious land targets, they'd ignored the fact that Earth was primarily a water world. "Ma'am," Rodriguez called out, "we're detecting Crixian communication bursts. They're trying to warn their fleet." "Let them," Emma said, her tone cold as the ice above them. "Activate the quantum jamming grid." The technology that had hidden Area 51's true nature for over 70 years now deployed on a global scale. Crixian communications dissolved into static as their signals encountered invisible fields of quantum interference. "All submarine carriers report ready," Chen announced. "Aquatic fighter squadrons are in position." Emma stood, walking to the main tactical display. The Crixian ground forces in the Sahara were still searching for the phantom bases, their formations becoming increasingly erratic. Above them, their ships maintained a tight orbital formation, ready to provide fire support against threats that didn't exist. "You know," she mused, "humanity learned long ago that the best place to hide isn't in the shadows. It's in plain sight. We let them see exactly what they expected to see." She tapped a control, bringing up live feeds from the underwater bases. "Now let's show them what they missed." "Launch channels clear," Rodriguez reported. "Awaiting your command." Emma's fingers hovered over the execution controls. "Tell me, Captain, are you familiar with the old magician's trick of misdirection? Yes, Mom. Keep them watching one hand while the other does the real work. Exactly. She pressed the controls. All carriers, commence launch operations. Show these aliens why Earth's oceans have always been our greatest ally. The sea itself seemed to erupt as massive vessels burst from the depths, their hulls designed to operate in both water and air. Crixian sensors, still focused on the desert, registered the threat too late. Enemy fleet is attempting to reposition, Chen reported. Their formation is breaking. Good. Emma opened a global command channel. All units, weapons free. Remember your training. We've been preparing for this moment since we first detected their approach vector 7 years ago. Time to show them that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our ability to make our enemies see exactly what we want them to see. As the first wave of aquatic fighters engaged the surprised Crixian fleet, Emma couldn't help but think of all the conspiracy theorists who'd claimed governments were hiding advanced technology. They had been right, just not about where it was hidden. Send word to Dr. Anderson, she ordered. Tell her the desert gambit worked. The oceans are awake, and they're about to learn why humans have always feared what lies beneath the waves. Master Sergeant James "Ghost" Martins pressed his back against the curved wall of the Crixian capital ship's ventilation shaft, his nanofiber combat suit adapting to match the metallic surface. The 5 members of his special operations team maintained perfect silence, their breathing controlled through years of training and enhancement. Control, this is Ghost. He subvocalized, his neural implant transmitting directly to Earth Command. We're inside the Crixian flagship. These oversized lizards really should have studied how humans used the Trojan horse. Dr. Anderson's voice whispered in his mind. Confirmed, Ghost. Remember, we need their command and control systems intact. Show them why humans excel at close quarters combat. Copy that. James switched to team frequency. Turner, what's the structural analysis? Corporal Sarah Turner, their tech specialist, projected a holographic schematic from her wrist computer. They built these ships like their ancient fortresses. All show, no practical defense. Every maintenance tunnel is a potential infiltration route. They never expected anyone to get this close. Their mistake. James checked his quantum phase rifle, a weapon designed specifically for ship infiltration. Team, load non-destructive rounds. We're here to capture, not destroy. He paused, a predatory grin crossing his face. Unless they make us destroy. The team moved through the ship's infrastructure like shadows, their suits' adaptive camouflage making them nearly invisible. Years of studying recovered alien technology had taught humanity exactly where to strike. Contact, Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered over the comm. 3 Crixian engineers in the next junction. James held up a fist, and his team froze. The Crixians passed below them, completely unaware of the humans hiding less than 2 meters above their heads. Their arrogance was their weakness. They simply couldn't conceive of an inferior species infiltrating their mighty vessels. Bridge is 2 levels up, Turner reported. But we got a problem. Heavy security around their quantum core. They're learning. No, James corrected. They're reacting. There's a difference. Zhao, deploy sonic disruptors. Let's show them what happens when you force humans to get creative. Sergeant Zhao pulled several small devices from his tactical vest, each no larger than a coin. The team had tested these weapons extensively. They exploited the Crixians' enhanced hearing, turning it against them. Ready on your mark, Ghost. James opened a secure channel to the other infiltration teams scattered throughout the Crixian fleet. All units, synchronize operations. Execute in 3, 2, 1. The sonic disruptors activated simultaneously across dozens of ships. The effect was immediate. Crixian warriors collapsed, their sensitive auditory systems overwhelmed by frequencies specifically calibrated to their species' vulnerabilities. Move, James commanded, and his team dropped from the maintenance shaft into the corridor. They flowed through the ship like water, each member covering specific angles, their movements perfected through countless combat operations on Earth. A Crixian security team recovered faster than expected, raising their weapons. James didn't hesitate. His quantum phase rifle fired, the rounds passing straight through the aliens' energy shields, another weakness humanity had discovered and exploited. Bridge secured, Rodriguez reported moments later. You should see their faces, Ghost. They never thought we'd make it this far. James strode onto the bridge, where stunned Crixian officers were being secured by his team. The ship's commander, his scales dulled with shock, glared at the humans. Impossible. The alien spat, his translator making the word sound like a curse. Your species, you're barely space-capable. That's where you made your critical mistake. James removed his tactical helmet, letting them see his face. You thought space combat was all about massive ships and energy weapons. But humans, we learned long ago that the deadliest predator isn't the biggest. It's the one you never see coming. He activated the bridge's communication systems, broadcasting to the entire Crixian fleet. This is Master Sergeant Martins of Earth's Special Operations Command. Your flagship is under our control. Your command structure is compromised. And this, he gestured to his team, who stood ready and alert. This is just one unit, on one ship. We have teams throughout your fleet, and you never even knew we were here. Status update from Earth Command, Turner reported. Operation Shadow Strike is showing similar success across all targeted vessels. The Crixian fleet is effectively decapitated. James nodded, finally allowing himself to relax slightly. Send word to Dr. Anderson. Tell her the close quarters combat phase is complete. Time to show them why humans have always excelled at taking the fight directly to the enemy. Lieutenant Commander Kate Phoenix Sullivan sat cross-legged in her command chair aboard the U.S. Digital Wraith, her neural interface glowing with a soft blue light at the base of her skull. Streams of alien code flowed across her augmented vision as she probed the Crixian battle network. Amateurs, she muttered, fingers dancing through holographic command interfaces. They actually kept their targeting systems on the same network as their communication arrays. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Marcus Wong, monitored the tactical display showing the ongoing space battle. They're adapting to our conventional attacks, Commander. 3 of our destroyer groups are pinned down near Saturn's rings. Kate allowed herself a predatory smile. Perfect. They're so focused on our ships that they haven't noticed what we're really doing. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is Phoenix. Operation Wildfire is go. Light 'em up. Across the solar system, dormant viruses hidden in the Crixian networks during previous engagements activated simultaneously. Kate had spent months designing them, building on decades of human cyber warfare experience. The aliens were about to learn why humanity's hackers were feared even before first contact. Impact in 3, 2, 1. The effect was immediate and devastating. Crixian targeting systems suddenly identified their own ships as hostile. Communication networks broadcast human military marches instead of battle orders. Navigation computers plotted collision courses. Ma'am, Wong reported, excitement bleeding through his professional tone. The slave races in their engine rooms, they're receiving our transmissions. The encrypted manifestos we planted are spreading through their networks. Kate nodded, diving deeper into the alien systems through her neural link. You know, the Crixians made the same mistake every overconfident military force in human history made. They thought superior technology meant assured victory. She pulled up footage from their ship's internal cameras, watching as enslaved engineer crews began sabotaging systems from within. Months of psychological warfare, carefully crafted messages of liberation, and promises of Earth's protection were finally bearing fruit. Their admiral is trying to isolate command and control systems, one of her cyber warfare specialists called out. They're initiating emergency protocols. Let them, Kate replied, her fingers never stopping their dance through the holographic interface. Trying to fight a virus is like trying to catch smoke with your hands, and we've given them something much worse than a simple virus. On her tactical display, Crixian ships began firing on each other, their compromised targeting systems creating chaos in their formation. But that was just the surface attack. The real damage was happening in their command structure. Phase 2, she ordered. Release the deep fakes. Across every Crixian communication channel, perfectly crafted artificial footage began playing. It showed their own high command surrendering to Earth forces, ordering full withdrawal. Simultaneously, other feeds displayed their emperor signing treaties with human leaders, events that hadn't happened yet but seemed terrifyingly real. They're trying to verify the authenticity of their orders, Wang reported. Their entire chain of command is in chaos. Kate's smile widened. And now they're doing exactly what we wanted. Flooding their networks with verification requests, straining their already compromised systems. She initiated the final sequence. Time to show them why psychological warfare is a human specialty. Every screen on every Crixian ship suddenly displayed the same image. A phoenix rising from flames, rendered in the stark red and black colors that human studies had shown provoked fear responses in Crixian psychology. Broadcast on all frequencies, she commanded. Let them hear what real psychological warfare sounds like. The sound of human war drums filled the void of space, transmitted directly into every Crixian ship. Mixed with it were the battle cries of 1,000 human armies throughout history, combined with infrasound frequencies targeted to Crixian auditory vulnerabilities. Multiple ships reporting critical systems failure, Wang announced. Their crews are starting to abandon ship. The slave races, they're taking control of entire vessels. Kate finally stood from her command chair, stretching like a cat after a successful hunt. Send word to Dr. Anderson. Tell her that digital warfare phase is complete. The Crixians just learned why humanity's most dangerous weapons were never our guns or ships. They were our minds. She watched as the mighty Crixian fleet dissolved into chaos, their own technology turned against them by human ingenuity. And remind them, she added, that this was just our opening move in the digital theater. General David Ironwall Thompson stood in the crystal chamber beneath NORAD, surrounded by holographic displays showing the greatest technological achievement in human history. The Lazarus Protocol wasn't just a weapon, it was a complete reimagining of warfare itself. Sir, Captain Lisa Mitchell reported from her station. The Crixians have launched their primary attack fleet. They're targeting our forward defensive line near Mars. David watched calmly as the massive alien armada approached. They'd lost nearly half their fleet to human guerrilla tactics, cyber warfare, and special operations. Now, in desperation, they were committing everything to one final, overwhelming strike. They still think this is about ships and numbers, he said, his cybernetic eye scanning tactical readouts. Time to show them why that assumption is fatal. Execute Lazarus Protocol. The chamber hummed with power as quantum computers initiated the most complex military operation ever attempted. On the tactical display, the human defense fleet waited, seemingly outnumbered and outgunned. Enemy fleet entering maximum firing range, Mitchell announced. They're charging primary weapons. David keyed his neural link to the fleet-wide command channel. All ships, hold position. Let them take their shot. The Crixian vessels opened fire simultaneously, their energy weapons turning space itself into a storm of destructive force. Human ships vanished in explosions that briefly rivaled the sun. Impact confirmed, Mitchell reported, her voice steady despite watching apparent devastation. All forward units destroyed. The Crixian command channel erupted with celebrations that died suddenly as their sensors registered something impossible. In the debris fields where human ships had been destroyed, microscopic machines were moving. Billions of nanites, each programmed with a fragment of the Lazarus Protocol, began to swarm. They gathered fragments of destroyed vessels, reorganizing matter at the molecular level. By all means, David murmured, watching the Crixians' confusion. Celebrate our destruction. You're about to learn why humans named this protocol after a man who rose from the dead. Before the stunned alien fleet, human ships began to reconstruct themselves. Armor reformed from scattered debris. Weapons systems reassembled from their component atoms. Within minutes, the destroyed fleet was reborn. All ships reporting successful reconstruction, Mitchell announced, unable to hide her pride. Lazarus Protocol functioning at optimal efficiency. David opened a channel to the enemy fleet. Attention Crixian forces. Perhaps now would be a good time to discuss the true meaning of superior technology. The reconstructed human fleet opened fire, their weapons enhanced by the very energy the Crixians had used to destroy them. Each resurrection made them stronger, incorporating improvements based on how they'd been destroyed. "Sir," Mitchell called out, "we're detecting massive energy buildup in the Crixian flagship. They're targeting their own destroyed vessels." "Of course they are," David nodded. "They think they can use our technology against us." Another fatal assumption. The Crixians fired on their own debris fields, attempting to trigger the same resurrection effect. Instead, their weapons fire was absorbed by quantum fields, feeding power to the human nanite swarms. "You see," David broadcast to the increasingly panicked alien fleet, "the Lazarus Protocol isn't just technology. It's the culmination of humanity's greatest strengths, our ability to learn, to adapt, and most importantly, to rise stronger from defeat." The reconstructed human ships began systematic destruction of the Crixian fleet, their weapons now calibrated to prevent any debris large enough for the aliens to salvage. Each explosion was contained in quantum fields that only human nanites could penetrate. "Multiple enemy vessels attempting emergency jumps," Mitchell reported. "Their formation is breaking." David's expression remained stern. "Let some escape. They need to report what they've seen here." He opened a channel to Earth Command. "Dr. Anderson, Lazarus Protocol demonstration is complete. The enemy now understands that destroying our forces only makes them stronger." He watched as the remaining Crixian ships fled, their mighty armada reduced to scattered refugees. "Humanity spent centuries dreaming of resurrection," he mused. "Now we've achieved it, not through mysticism, but through the relentless advance of human ingenuity." "Should we pursue, sir?" Mitchell asked. "No," David replied, his cybernetic eye tracking the retreating vessels. "They've learned today's lesson." In fact, he allowed himself a small smile. "I'd say they've learned it quite thoroughly." Admiral Rebecca Storm Walker stood on the bridge of the USS Nautilus, the most advanced space carrier humanity had ever built. Through the quantum glass viewport, the asteroid belt stretched before them like a hunter's perfect hunting ground. Her years as a submarine commander had taught her one crucial lesson. Space warfare wasn't about flying. It was about thinking in 3 dimensions. "Contact," Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper reported, his hands flying over the tactical display. "Crixian pursuit fleet entering the belt. Looks like they're still trying to regroup after the Lazarus Protocol demonstration." Rebecca smiled, unconsciously touching the dolphin pendant at her throat, a reminder of Earth's first naval warriors. Broadcast to all ships. Operation Kraken is now active. Show them why humanity's submariners make the best space commanders. The Nautilus and its battle group went dark, their quantum drives powering down to minimal levels. In the asteroid belt, dozens of human vessels did the same, becoming nearly invisible among the tumbling rocks. "Enemy fleet maintaining standard formation," Harper announced. "They still haven't figured out why we led them here." "Of course not," Rebecca replied, watching the alien ships move deeper into her trap. "They think space combat is about direct confrontation. They never learned what every submarine captain knows, the art of silent running." She opened a tactical channel to her fleet. "All ships, execute pattern Leviathan, just like we practiced in the Mariana Trench." Human vessels began moving through the asteroid field with impossible precision, using the massive rocks as both cover and weapons. Decades of underwater warfare experience had prepared them for this moment. Every asteroid's gravitational field became a current to ride, every shadow a place to hide. "Ma'am," Harper's voice carried a note of pride. "Gravitational torpedoes armed and ready. The asteroids are aligned." Rebecca nodded, her expression focused. "Begin the dance." Across the belt, human ships fired their gravitational weapons not at the Crixian vessels, but at carefully selected asteroids. The massive rocks began to move, their trajectories altered by precisely calculated forces. What humans understood, Rebecca broadcast to her fleet, that the Crixians never did, is that space is just another ocean. And in the ocean, you don't just fight the enemy, you make the environment itself your weapon. The Crixian fleet suddenly found themselves in the middle of an artificial asteroid storm. Rocks the size of mountains moved with deliberate purpose, herding the alien ships exactly where Rebecca wanted them. "They're trying to break formation," Harper reported, "losing coordination between their vessel groups." "Perfect." Rebecca's fingers danced across her command interface. "All ships, surface and attack. Show them why humanity's naval doctrine translated so perfectly to space." Human vessels erupted from their hiding spots, emerging from asteroid shadows like sharks from the depths. Their attacks came from every angle: above, below, port, starboard, fore, and aft. The Crixians, used to two-dimensional thinking, found their formation shattered by attacks they couldn't predict. "Multiple enemy ships disabled," Harper called out. "Their command and control is completely disrupted." Rebecca watched as her fleet executed maneuvers that would have made ancient submarine commanders proud. Each human vessel moved with perfect precision, using asteroids for cover exactly as submarines once used thermal layers in Earth's oceans. "Send to Earth Command," she ordered. "Tell Dr. Anderson that the space naval warfare demonstration is complete." The Crixians just learned why humanity's submariners spent centuries preparing for this moment. Through the viewport, she watched as another Crixian ship succumbed to the coordinated attack. Their mighty warships, designed for head-to-head combat, had no defense against tactics perfected in Earth's depths. "You know," she said to Harper, "there's an old saying from the submarine service: we have learned more about space warfare from the ocean than the ocean ever learned from space." As if to emphasize her point, another group of human ships executed a perfect hunting pattern, emerging from an asteroid's shadow to deliver a killing blow before vanishing again into the field. "Status report from the fleet," Harper announced. "All objectives achieved. The enemy's remaining forces are in full retreat." Rebecca touched her dolphin pendant again, thinking of all the naval battles throughout human history that had led to this moment. "Let them run," she said. "They've learned an important lesson today. Never challenge a species that mastered warfare in 3 dimensions before they ever left their planet." Dr. Jessica Anderson stood in the neutral meeting ground of Cirrus Station, watching the approach of the Crixian Supreme Commander's shuttle through the reinforced viewport. The past month had transformed the mighty Crixian Empire from would-be conquerors to a broken force seeking terms. Yet Jessica knew this moment was perhaps the most crucial of all. "Their shuttle is docking," Colonel Reynolds reported from his security station. "Scans confirm the Supreme Commander is aboard. No weapons detected beyond their ceremonial items." Jessica straightened her dress uniform. "Excellent. Time to show them humanity's final and most important military capability: knowing when not to destroy your enemy." The station's quantum shields hummed softly as the Crixian delegation entered. Supreme Commander Vex Thrul moved with much less arrogance than their ambassador had shown that first day. His scales were dulled with exhaustion, his posture bearing the weight of devastating defeat. "Dr. Anderson," he spoke through his translator, mandibles clicking softly, "you have devastated our fleet, turned our own slaves against us, and demonstrated military capabilities we thought impossible. Why request this meeting instead of simply finishing what you started?" Jessica gestured to the conference table, where holographic displays showed the current state of both forces. "Because, Supreme Commander, humanity learned long ago that true victory isn't about destruction. It's about transformation." She activated a hidden display, revealing images that made the Crixian leader's scales flutter in shock. Massive weapons platforms, automated drone fleets, and entire artificial worlds dedicated to war production appeared before them. These, Jessica explained, are just some of the weapons we chose not to use. Capabilities we developed but kept in reserve, because sometimes the greatest show of strength is in what you choose not to do. Why? Vex Thrall's translator struggled to convey his confusion. Why show us this now? Because you need to understand what happens next. Jessica's voice carried absolute authority. We could obliterate your empire, reduce your worlds to ash, take everything you have and grind it to dust beneath our heel. She paused, letting the words sink in. Or, we could show you a better way. She activated another display, showing plans for joint human-Crixian military exercises, technological exchange programs, and cultural integration initiatives. Your empire excels at conquest, but you never learn the art of cooperation. Humanity. We've spent centuries learning how to turn enemies into allies. You would trust us after everything. Vex Thrall's translator couldn't fully capture his disbelief. Trust, Jessica smiled. No, not yet, but we'll give you the opportunity to earn it. She brought up one final display, a treaty document. We're offering partnership, not subjugation. A chance to learn why humanity's greatest victories often came not from the wars we won, but from the peace we built afterward. The Supreme Commander studied the documents, his tactical mind clearly processing the implications. And if we refuse? Jessica's expression hardened. Then we demonstrate why keeping those superweapons in reserve wasn't an act of mercy. It was a courtesy. For a long moment, silence filled the station. Then, slowly, Vex Thrall reached for the treaty interface. We accept your terms, Dr. Anderson. Though I must ask, how did your species become so formidable while appearing so peaceful? Because, Supreme Commander, humanity learned early that the most dangerous predator isn't the one that's always baring its teeth. It's the one smart enough to know when not to bite. She accepted the signed treaty with a nod. Welcome to a new era of galactic cooperation. I think you'll find that humanity makes far better friends than enemies. As the Crixian delegation departed, Colonel Reynolds approached her station. Think they've really learned their lesson, Mom? Jessica watched the shuttle depart, thinking of all the battles that had led to this moment. They've learned that they can't defeat us through force. Now comes the harder lesson, learning why peace is always stronger than war. She opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Dr. Anderson. The final phase is complete. Operation Teaching Moment is concluded. She smiled, looking out at the stars. Time to show the galaxy why humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology or our tactics. It was our ability to turn today's enemies into tomorrow's allies. And if they try something like this again? Reynolds asked. Then we remind them, Jessica replied, her voice carrying steel beneath its diplomacy. Why you never pick a fight with a species that turned warfare into an art form and peace into a science.